So some time ago, I talked about how Jimmy Dore and Professor, let me pull up his name here properly, Professor Jeffrey Sachs were correct on the ridiculousness of censorship, how the establishment is trying to keep us suppressed, because now we're seeing this full-on push for immediate censorship, not only on X, but the banning of TikTok. You got people, especially those in the establishment, saying that X, formerly known as Twitter, is being influenced by Russia. But Elon Musk goes on to say, no, there is no Russian misinfo on X, but there's plenty of Western influence. That means the ops are out there. The ops are present. So first, let's talk about something that is probably going to happen, asking if Congress will restrict TikTok, tickety-tock. So let's go ahead, because before I pull up Jimmy and Professor Sachs's comments, because they are still relevant. All right, Jimmy Dore, who was recently on the Tucker Carlson show some time ago before Fox News kicked him off their network. It lays everything out properly. We know that the censorship is real and that it's going to start intensifying. It's going to start getting worse for a lot of us. And I think I encourage all of you to double check and triple check that you're still subscribed to your favorite content creator, folks. So let's go and pull up this video. Shout out to Case Study QB and listen to the Squawk Box. Hear what they got to say.
Today, 170 million Americans are active users of a social media platform that the People's Republic of China treats as a tool of surveillance and of propaganda. This is a matter that deserves Congress' urgent attention.
Joining us right now is John McEntee. He is the former director of the White House Presidential Personnel Office during the Trump administration. He's a senior fellow at the Heritage Foundation's Project 2025, and he is the co-founder, if you know him from TikTok, of The Right Stuff, a dating app for conservatives that has more than 2 million followers on TikTok. So who better to talk to about this and so many other things? John, it's nice to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so you are a TikTok star. How worried are you about the national security issues around TikTok?
Like Mitch said, 170 million Americans. We love TikTok. Obviously, It's fun. My sister and I share videos. We laugh till we cry. It's been great for our business, right? We've gone from 0 to 2 million. And
really on the back of TikTok. More
than anything, because TikTok lets a person without any following go viral. It's very rare now. You can't do that on YouTube and older platforms. So people are discovering our app through TikTok that would have found it no other way. That's not why I'm against the bill. I'm against the bill because it's new censorship power for the...
Okay, first of all, like this guy's enthusiasm, and hey, he's got a dating app, The Right Stuff. Isn't that special? We all know dating apps are BS anyways, but hey, to each their own. But the thing is, TikTok, here's my criticism of it. It is a very fascinating platform, and hey, to each their own. It's just, I've seen this kind of platform before. You only have 30 seconds or maybe a minute to really post a viral video clip. We saw this before with Vines, okay? We've seen this before. However, TikTok is very popular, as it should be. However, there's always that burnout motion of TikTok, and that is, you only could do things in a short video segment for so long. And even then, with a platform like TikTok, look at how quick the establishment is on the pathway for censorship. We know it happens on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And the reason why they don't want people to have relevancy is because traditional media doesn't like the competition and it doesn't like this narrative being broken. And TikTok, being an app that belongs to another country, Silicon Valley, doesn't like the fact that something out there has been more innovative than them.
The government.
Interesting. But what about the national security concerns? Do you have one?
Okay, so the only two things they say are Chinese propaganda, which no one has ever seen. There's been no instance of that, or American user data. But American user data, it's all stored in America with Oracle, an American company. So are they scared?
And so if you ever wonder why, you're getting commercials about certain products, it's because they're spying in on you. It's one thing to worry about, the Chinese government. But I think China knows all it needs to know about America now at this point, okay? there's probably somewhere late at night, Xi Jinping pours himself a stiff drink and says, "There's some things about the American people I just didn't want to know." Like he's like we probably scarred the Chinese spy corporations and the intel agencies there. Like they're traumatized by us. Okay, they're traumatized by us. They're like, hey, Xi Jinping, we can't invade America. These people are sociopathic. We got to stay the hell out of there. Anyways.
Scared of it somehow getting to China? Well, why don't we ban the sale of American data to China? American companies
what about
do that.
The idea that this might be prospective, which is to say, maybe today it is not a national security threat insofar as data is being misused today, but potentially if the Chinese government were to want to use it, that's why I say prospectively, in the future, for some kind of to create a national security threat, and some people use as an example just the power of it. When TikTok went and posted a full screen the day that they were worried that they were going to be banned, they put up a full screen and all these people started calling their Congress people. By the way, I think they have every right to do that. We have free speech in America to do that.
Right.
Having said that, there's some people who say, look at the power of this thing. If these guys wanted to flip a switch, boy, could they influence America.
It is incredibly powerful, and that's why they...
No. If China wanted to flip a switch, do you have any idea how many people would flip the switch right back on or turn it up to 11? People are going to go to something if they want it, okay? And TikTok is right now the hot thing. It is the drug that's getting a lot of people going forward. And who doesn't like looking at some of the videos there? But what this is, the reason why, the insidious reason why TikTok is being banned, the reason why Congress is going after it is because of this recent horrific situation in Gaza, where men, women, and children are getting blown up and murdered and killed, all that kind of crazy stuff. And it's making Israel look bad. And of course, these videos also get shared on Instagram and on Twitter and on YouTube, and we see it. And you know the rules, money in politics. Once AIPAC starts knocking on that door and they start telling their, their friends, their property in Washington, D.C., our politicians, our senators and representatives, they're going to be on a super fast rush to censor TikTok or anyone else on social media.
They want to ban it. It's news and a narrative they can't control. It has nothing to do with China. The Chinese government doesn't own TikTok. ByteDance does. China, that's not even a Chinese company. That's a global company.
Senator Ted Cruz was in, and he said that he has big concerns about it because the algorithm is different and puts things out there. He went through cases of Uyghurs not being mentioned nearly as frequently on other social networks, went through issue after issue where they are very much pushed on TikTok and not on other social media apps. And his concern is that. And I will also say anybody who has access to the highest level of defense issues and concerns around this has come away and said this. And that's Republicans and Democrats alike.
Oh, God, lady, you're brown nosing up the politicians' nose or wazoo. Sorry about that. Let's be clear about this jackass. This reporter. This pundit. This corporate stooge is just saying, oh, we got to trust our U.S. senators and U.S. House representatives because those that have access to the high clearance security would know what they're doing. And our politicians would never lie to us before, lady. Now, people need to wonder why. Stop wondering why Americans are no longer trusting our corporate media and our politicians. It's because of dumbass statements like that from that jackass of a reporter. Pundit. Corporate stooge. Gee, we gotta trust the politicians because they know they have access. Did it ever occur to you that maybe they're lying? That maybe their lobby groups gave them a script, just like how you're given a script? Right? And say this, and you'll get that extra floor on your house. Dumbass. These are the authoritative sources, folks.
I don't have access to that. I know you were in the White House, but you probably didn't have the highest level security either. Those senators who do walk away and all say the same thing. And you don't see both sides of the aisle agree on much of anything these days.
The TikTok algorithm feeds you things off of your own interests. It doesn't promote anything. It doesn't put out its own content. Creators create things, they share videos, hard stop. It's a younger audience, which is why boomers have a hard time understanding this. Like, why isn't there
boomer?
No, Ted Cruz might be. Why is there less pro-Israel content? Well, the younger generation is less pro-Israel. That might be good or bad or whatever.
Yeah, that's it. Hitting the nail on the head. But of course, again, when we see the censorship, when we see the censorship, happening, it just gets worse. So hold on, I want to pull up this article. Senate mulls TikTok ban as Trump and Zuckerberg battle brews in the background. That's right, more of this crazy stuff that's happening on social media. As the Senate mulls the TikTok ban, the real fight could turn out between two presumptive GOP nominee Donald Trump. Sorry for that stutter right there, Jesus. And Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg. Oh my goodness. Trump is not in favor of a House bill that would ban TikTok if the platform is not sold to a company without ties to a Chinese Communist Party. The position is a shift for the former president, but his rationale puts a spotlight on what many see as a years-long effort by Facebook, parent company of Meta, to undermine TikTok. Trump has said the U.S. lawmakers shouldn't ban the ByteDance-owned platform simply because it would benefit Facebook. I found Facebook to be extremely dishonest. And what would happen is if you ban TikTok, if you take it away, those people are going to go into Facebook. No, they're not. Trump, you're wrong in this one, okay? Facebook ain't what it used to be back in the day. And Facebook, in my opinion, is worse than TikTok by a lot. Well, I'm not going to argue there, Trump. Not going to do that. However, I do want to pull up this video because we're going to go back in time to March 18th of 2024, just last month. Hang on, folks. Where Professor Jeffrey Sachs says on good old Piers Morgan, do condemn Hamas, on why the TikTok ban bill is absurd. So let's play this video. You've seen this before, but let's refresh your memories.
I think it's absurd.
Why?
I think we're in the middle of, because I think we're in the middle of a very typical American paranoid phase. This is a country that knows very little about, where the political class, let me say, knows very little about anything. I know a lot of these congressmen, they're not very intelligent. They don't know anything about China. Most of them have never been to China. And we are stirring up, again, a kind of hatred that has absolutely no basis, in my view. Who is most likely to spy on me? By the way, my own government, by far.
Do you not see China as a national security threat to the United States?
Not at all.
Really?
Not at all. Not at all. Not at all.
You seem very.
I think that this is China's...
You seem very unbothered by these authoritarian regimes.
Yeah, because I don't think China's about to invade the United States or do damage to us. I have been going to China for 43 years now, and most of the time, several times a year. And I have studied and written about Chinese history, Chinese economic history. I have taught many Chinese students. I have been engaged in many research programs. Do I find China a threat to the United States? No, not at all.
What if China invades Taiwan?
Oh, the what ifs. Well, that means it's because the U.S. is instigating that invasion. But seriously, Piers, the bigger problem isn't TikTok. It's the fact that you have the U.S. government also spying in on people.
Seems increasingly likely in the next 3 years.
Well, the thing that would make it most likely, as I have said to Taiwanese friends and senior officials, is for the United States to be shipping armaments to Taiwan, because the United States is doing exactly what it said it would not do. It said 40 years ago, actually a little more than 40 years ago, in a very important and famous communique, that the United States not only observes the one China policy, but it has no intention of providing arms to Taiwan over the long term, and that it is going to taper off its arms supply to Taiwan. So in this sense, I think the United States, as usual, is stirring up things. Is it really smart, for example, for the Speaker of the House over the objection of Beijing to fly to Taiwan? I think it's absolutely reckless and stupid. Do I think it's in Taiwan's interest? Absolutely not. It's exactly what we were talking about with Ukraine. Do I think that arming Ukraine and telling Ukraine we've got your back really helps Ukraine? No, I think it puts it at the greatest risk of its survival. So we don't know how to calm down a little bit, give a little space. I believe Taiwan's part of China. I believe in the one China policy myself. I don't believe in the United States unilaterally sending armaments to China 42 years after we said firmly that we're not going to do that for the long term. So I don't believe in it, no. I want to have normal, mutually respectful relations with other countries. I actually happen to like Chinese civilization. I think that they've done a wonderful job of economic development over the last 40 years, the most successful for any large area in the whole world. I've seen a lot of it close up. And I want to have mutually respectful, calmer relations, not arms races, not AUKUS, not new nuclear powered submarine bases in Australia and new military bases being announced in the Philippines.
And look, I don't want to be pausing too much into this because, folks, what he is saying here is this little app, TikTok, is absurd. Okay, the banning of it is stupid. Truly, it is, and there is much to be discussed if the U.S. Senate and House of Representatives are successful, because it shows you that AIPAC and the establishment, the neoliberal establishment, are successful in trying to control things that you, the American people, want to see and hear. Now, at the end of the day, all of you have a right to watch, listen, speak, however which way you want. But the establishment doesn't like that. Corporate media doesn't like it. They don't like the fact that people are forming their own opinions and that we can communicate with each other. We can communicate with people all over the world. Now, there are some problems with the internet. Don't get me wrong. The internet can be a beautiful place, but also can be a real scummy place at the same time. But the last thing we need is our quote-unquote leaders and politicians dictating to us what we can and cannot do, what we can see and what we cannot see. This is a concern. And when you have those in power and those in the media telling you that something is a threat, always ask yourself why. And just because these politicians have access to top secret clearance information, remember that they can lie to you. They've lied to us and dragged us into so many ridiculous wars.
And by the way, building huge new NATO bases in Romania. This isn't the way to peace. This is the way absolutely to spiraling violence and war. And I'm against it. I think you talk with others, you have diplomacy, you negotiate, you don't call them names, you sit down and you work out mutual security interests, which I absolutely believe in. In the late 1990s, we will take steps for building a relationship so that North Korea would not become a nuclear armed nation. And then John Bolton came in 2002, said, that's all stupid. We don't have to do anything with these people, and so on. So where are we today? Of course, we're in a vastly more dangerous situation than we were 20 years ago.
Now let's talk about that. Pulling up this article here from RT just to trigger the libs. No Russian misinformation on X, but Western influence ops. The ops are present, according to Elon Musk. The owner of X, formerly known as Twitter, Elon Musk, has rejected accusations that Russian misinformation was widespread on his platform. The entrepreneur, who describes himself as a champion of free speech, has been accused of making the social network vulnerable to Russian activities by changing its content moderation protocols after purchasing Twitter in 2022. And that triggered those blue-haired libs so much. All the SJWs, all the people in charge of those internet outlets, those internet magazines, those internet that went bankrupt, like BuzzFeed, Vice, Vox, all that kind of stuff, right? His latest denial came on Tuesday while he was discussing X in Good Company, a podcast. Host Nicole Tangi suggested that Russian activity via fake accounts was huge in Germany. We don't see a lot of Russian activity, to be frank, on the system. We see very little, Musk responded. We do see a lot of attempts to influence things, but they seem to be coming from the West, not Russia. Tangen's remark apparently referred to claims made by Berlin in January. The German government said that it used that the use of specialized monitoring software had allowed it to identify an estimated 50,000 fake accounts engaged in pro-Russian misinformation campaign on X. Local press claimed that the messaging was strikingly similar to that of the right-wing opposition party AfD. Okay. Germany's not alone in its awareness regarding Moscow's influence. This week, U.S. Congressman Mike Turner, who chairs the House of Intelligence Committee, accused some fellow Republicans of repeating Russian propaganda in the chamber. It is absolutely true. We see directly coming from Russia attempts to mass communications that are anti-Ukraine and pro-Russian messages, some of which we even hear being uttered on the House floor, the Ohio congressman told CNN's Jake Tapper. Similar remarks came last week from the House of Foreign Affairs' Michael McCall, another Republican lawmaker. In his interview, Musk hailed X as arguably the best source of truth on the internet. And shit-talking. There you go. All of that. And by far surpasses traditional news outlets in terms of accuracy thanks to user-driven fact-checking tools. Sometimes those fact-checking tools get it wrong, Musk. Just throwing it out there. So how should we end this segment? Because, folks, Jimmy Dore was right. That's right. That's going to trigger Cenk Uygur. Of course, it's going to trigger Cenk Uygur and everybody else. But shout out to Jimmy Dore. I think I should give him the whole floor, the final segment, because this was when he was on Fox News, when Tucker Carlson still hosted the show. Just remember that the establishment is doing everything it can to censor, silence, and suppress you, to keep you in the dark. They don't want you to think for yourselves. They don't respect you. They think you're too stupid to figure things out. And what I expect out of all of you, my viewing audience, is to make up your own conclusions, do your own research, look at various other sources of information, and come up with your own conclusions and become more well-informed. And it is then your social responsibility to inform your neighbors, your friends. These conversations will not be easy to have, but the more educated you are, the more informed you are, the more of a power you can be, and the less chance you have of being influenced by the establishment.
We're the ones provoking this war, just like we provoked the war in Ukraine. We are now provoking a war with China. And who benefits? I'll tell you right now. Your enemy is not China. Your enemy is not Russia. Your enemy is the military-industrial complex, which has been fleecing this country to the tunes of hundreds of billions and trillions of dollars. How many times are we going to have a defense secretary say, "Hey, we can't account for $2 trillion in the Pentagon again"? Which has happened twice now in my lifetime. So again, people are being the war machine cannot be stopped. Who's running this country? The war machine. It certainly isn't Joe Biden making these decisions. I would like to know who is making the decisions. And I just want to remind everybody, the United States is the world's terrorist. We just set the Middle East on fire in the last 20 years. And now we're doing a proxy war in Ukraine, which we provoked, NATO provoked, and it was just admitted that we provoked it by the former prime minister of Germany. And now we're trying to saber rattle with China, and they're predicting a war. Again, China's not going to invade us. China's not our enemy. We might have an economic war. That's what these are. These are economic wars. These are wars in Ukraine. It's about liquefied natural gas and making sure Germany and Russia never come together, because we fear Russia's natural resources and manpower, and we fear them getting together with Germany with their technology and their capital. And so that's why we blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. That's why we're doing the Ukraine war. This is all about hegemony, imperialism, and economics. And if there's a Marine somewhere, it's there because they're about to steal some natural resources from another country. As everybody's screaming about what a bad guy Putin is for invading Ukraine, the United States is currently occupying a third of Syria. And which third is that? It's the third that has the oil. And how do I know we're there to steal their oil? Because the president of the United States said so.
And we're not even benefiting economically. Of course, that's the rub. Jimmy Dore, appreciate it. Thank you.
I let that video play out because I didn't want to interrupt it, and I felt that everything that Jimmy was saying was spot on. So first, remember, all this stuff, these TikTok bans, and these censorship tools that we are seeing, the fact that you're seeing outlets that are dictating what you can and cannot be allowed to post on social media, everyone, has to be an army and a legion in your own right and be someone who is consistent and follow through with the idea of free speech absolutism. Free speech is fundamentally important, and we're not all going to agree. And that's why I'm proud I have such a diverse audience, each with different perspectives and points of view. But remember, it's not your neighbor, it's not your family member that you get in an argument at Thanksgiving. It is not some random person on the street. It's not your coworker. It's not anybody that's against you. The establishment, the powers that be, have successfully divided many Americans. And I do want to hold on to the audacity to hope that we are waking up. But Professor Jeffrey Sachs and Jimmy Dore, as well as all of you, my viewing audience, you have been proven correct, not right, correct, in the actual statement that we are being censored, that the powers that be, corporate media, want to make sure that you don't have access to see things from different perspectives and points of view. Sometimes it's okay to be challenged and to talk to somebody who might think differently than you, that might have a different perspective. That's the whole purpose of living life. Not for us to be under control or under the thumb of those that have all the power. What a boring world that would be. This is a time where people have to step up and look at the idea of perhaps maybe, we're all being lied to. And the only way we can really build a better future is by building something not connected or intertwined with the neoliberal narrative and our politicians that has sold us down the river. Break away from it, folks, and let's fight for that better future, a future where free speech remains forever strong.